Okay, there is one question in our mind that we are having shapes like square, we are having shapes like circle, then why are we using this hexagonal shape? Why are we using this hexagonal shape? Because the problem is, if I am using circular shape, so in that case there is a gap. You can see here there is a gap between this circle. So whenever you will enter from one area to another area, and if that gap is coming in between, so you will going to lose your network and your phone will going to disconnect. Now my voice is clear, I think, isn't it, Riva?
Yes, ma'am. Now it is clear.
Okay, fine. That's why we have used the same problem where happened with the other shapes also. That's why we have used the shape which is hexagonal kind of, right? So there is no, we can say, need of gap in between. There should not be any gap remains, so your signal strength will be very strong, and wherever you can move you will going to get the, we can say, signal. Okay, in every cell you will going to get one kind of tower, right? So here there is one tower in one cell, again there is one tower, again there is one tower. So all these towers are known as a base stations. Okay. You can see here, whenever you are using your mobile while traveling through the car, you are going through one path, right? And you are getting signal from the tower of that particular mobile. Here I'm getting tower of this tower of signal of the mobile from this tower. Now my car is moving from this cell to another cell. Now this signal will become weaker, and from this tower, nearest tower, from this two I'm getting the signal. Again, whenever I'm reaching to the near to this tower, the signal strength will become weaker and I'm going to get signal strength from the other tower. So in this way, there are various clusters are there from which you will going to get the signal. Okay, now what is the thing here? There is one, we can say, word handoff, right? Whenever you are moving and you are getting and removing the signal, right? So this word is known as a handoff. There are two types: hard handoff and soft handoff. Suppose I am moving from one place to another place, my car is moving from here to there. Sometimes you feel that your mobile is going to disconnect due to some internet problems, due to some connection problem, right? So this is called hard handoff. Before moving from one place to another place, you will going to get disconnected and then you will going to get the signal from the another tower. So this kind of communication is called break and make, right? This is hard handoff. And in soft handoff, you will not going to get disconnected. Even you can move anywhere in Ahmedabad and you are using your cell phone, even though you can talk with your friend using that phone while, you can say, traveling through the car. So this kind of handoff is known as a soft handoff, where you will not going to get disconnected. Before disconnecting signal from the previous tower, you will going to get signal from the new tower. This is known as a soft handoff. Yesterday's lecture we have gone through the GSM architecture. I told you that in this subject you have to learn different architectures. First unit consists of mobile computing architecture, but that topic I have left. I'll later on I will let you know about this topic. There are two topics in first unit that I left. So once I'll do the revision of first unit and then I'll teach you that two topics. So you will going to learn GSM architecture here, Bluetooth architecture here, mobile IP architecture here, TCP IP architecture here, mobile TCP architecture here. There are so many architectures you have to learn in this subject. This is really very simple and easy subject. If you can know how to draw the architecture, you can write down by yourself in your word, right? So I already told you that our mobile phone is not fully, we can say, wired. It is wired up to this kind of tower, right? To this kind of tower you can find out there are some various connection, mobile switching center. From this tower to your mobile phone, it is wireless. So there it is divided into various part. The first part is mobile station. Second part is, we can say, base station subsystem. This part is mobile station. And the third part is network and switching subsystem, right? So the first part, mobile subsystem, is consist of two things. First is your SIM card, and the second thing is your handset itself, right? So combination of SIM card and mobile phone is known as a mobile station. Second is BSS, which consists of base station transmitter and base station controller. So its name is base station subsystem. So this is the combination of these two. Third thing is, we can say, mobile station controller, and which mobile switching center, sorry, which consists of various registers, which include visitors location register, which includes home location register, authentication register, and equipment identity register. And this whole system is known as a NSS, network switching subsystem. I have wrote full form of each and everything here. SIM card, full form of SIM card is subscribers identity module. Full form of ME is mobile equipment. Full form of BTS is, we can say, base station trans station. BSC is base station controller. HLR is home location register. VLR is visitors location register. MSC is mobile service switching center. EIR is equipment identity register, and AUC is your authentication register. So these are the name of all this displayed here. So whenever I'm going to ask you architecture of GSM, in that case this diagram you have to draw in exam, right? So combination of SIM card and mobile, combination of BTS and BSC is become BSS. There are so many BTS connected with one BSC. There are so many BSCs connected with one MSC, right? So there is one base station controller. For example, if I'm taking example of various areas of Ahmedabad, like Bhopal area, like Thaltej area. So these areas are, we can say, near to each other, and after combination of these areas we will going to get one BSC. So many BTS are connected with one BSC, so you can combine 8 or 9 areas and you can make one BSC. But now if I'm talking about the cities, or we can say state, so there is one MSC between one city, or between Ahmedabad and Mumbai there is one MSC, right? But between the area of Ahmedabad you will going to get more BSC, and BTS is available with, we can say, very nearer areas. So I can say that 30 to uh, 30 to 15 area, 13 to 15 area combines and make one BSC, and one city make one MSC. So these are the, we can say, a relationship between the BTS, BSC, and MSC. NSS is network switching center, which is last it will come. Public switch telephone network is there. Okay, you can see how everything is going to work. We can see one by one. Now what NSS is doing, it is the heart of GSM. It shows the interface between the wireless and fixed network like PSTN, public switch telephone network. It consists of switching center and database to perform various functions like it manages worldwide user location, maintenance of user account and call charges. It facilitates the roaming between different providers of different countries. Network switching center is backbone of NSS. We can say mobile switching center is a backbone of NSS. It consists of high performance ISDN switches used to connect the BSC and also to other MSC. MSC is connected to fixed network like PSTN via GMSC, Gateway Mobile Switching Center. Okay. Now let's discuss one by one how this register is going to perform: home location register, visitors location register, operating OSS system, how it is going to work. Let's see one by one. Okay. So home location register. If I am from Ahmedabad, if I have purchased mobile and SIM card from this Ahmedabad city, it means it is my home location, right? Whenever I am staying is my home location. So it is going to keep the information about that particular mobile. It is going to register that particular mobile in home location database. It is going to store the subscribers address, address, it is going to store the service type it required. It is storing the current location, forwarding address, authentication keys, billing information. Because if it is not going to store in database, then how will you going to get your bill? It is going to store that. That's why you are going to get your bill, that you have called this much, you have called for this many hours. You will going to get your bill whether you have paid or not. So it is going to maintain all the information related to that particular user who is using your mobile, right? So SIM card is identified with the International Mobile Subscriber Identity IMSI number, and it is totally different from the ISDN telephone number. ISDN number is known to everybody, as I told you last time. You can see here how MSDM number consists of and how this other number is going to consist of. MSISDN is Mobile Station International Subscriber Dictionary number. It is known to external world. This number to which the subscriber is called, it is not associated with the device, but it is associated with the subscriber. It follows ITU-T standard. I told you that mobile is having two numbers. So whenever your mobile is stolen and it seems we can say switch off, so there is one another number using which you can find out that particular SIM card of that person. So whenever any kind of crime will occur and any kind of trouble will occur and mobile is not reachable or switch off, in that case the another SIM card number is used. So how this number consists of? First thing is consist of country code. Country code can be 1 to 3 decimal digit. For India it is 91. For Germany it is 49. Right. Second one is national destination code. National destination code is for the subscriber. If you are using phone for the BSNL, then it start with the 94. If we are using for the Vodafone, then it start with the 99. If I am using for Geo, then it will going to start with 79, right? And the last one is maximum 10 digit long. In India, it is 8 digit, including the national destination code. So total 10 digit number is there. For example, if it is Vodafone, then you can write down that 90333, something like that, right? So this is the architecture of this number. Second number is we can say IMSI number, which consists of mobile country code, which is 404 for India, mobile network code, it is 10 for Airtel, and the mobile subscriber identity number, which is of 10 digit. Now what is the difference? As I told you that MSI SDN number is the contact number on which we are calling. So it is known to the outer world. But this number is born with the SIM card. It is not known to anybody. It is used for dialing. This is used for identifying the subscribers by the network operator. It is used to route the call. It is used to connect the network by authenticating. Now, exactly the static information or my permanent address or my home address is going to store into the home location register where I am exactly staying. Suppose I am from Ahmedabad, right? Suppose I'm staying at Ahmedabad and my information is stored in my home location register that I am staying in Ahmedabad. Now I am suppose moving anywhere else, Mumbai, Bangalore, or somewhere else. So these are my visiting place. These are not my home place. This information also they have to store. They are going to store at visitors location register. So this home location register is providing us detail about the call forwarding, call waiting, roaming permission, everything. The information it is going to store is current location, my status, where exactly I am, my visitor location's current status, then my number, roaming number, my we can say address, temporary address, ISDN number, MSSIDN number. These are the, we can say, my home location register's responsibility. When to terminate the call, when to route the call. These are the responsibility of visitors home location register. Suppose I am at Ahmedabad and this is my home location, right? And my information stored here. But now I visited Mumbai. It is whenever I'm calling to somebody now, so it will first check with the home location whether I'm in network, whether my number is matching with this home location network number, with this registered number. Location is not going to match, it means that I'm not in my home location, I'm somewhere else. So after consulting with this home location register, this visitors location register will going to store my location information, right? And if I'm calling somewhere in another state, then it will go to the roaming number. Initially they were having roaming kind of thing, right? So visitor location is storing my temporary, means my information temporary in the database. If I'm going now Bangalore from Mumbai, then I'm going Goa. So this all will my visitors location. So every time if I'll change the place, my visitors location database will change my information, right? So visitor location will assign me a temporary mobile subscriber identity. It is used to avoid the IMSI on the air. The visitor location register maintains the information about the mobile subscribers currently physically in the range covered by the switching center. When mobile subscriber roams from one location to another location, current location is automatically updated in visitor location register. When a mobile station roam, and if the old and new location are of different places, then again visitor location will going to connect to the mobile switching center and request for the data of the mobile station from the home location register. So the old entry will going to delete and the new entry will going to create into the new location register. So when I'm moving from Mumbai to Bangalore, then this entry will going to delete and then my new entry will going to create. Again I'm moving here, then again new entry will going to create. If I came back to Ahmedabad, then again it will going to check with the home location register by consulting that mobile switching center, which is come in between the we can say any city or state. There is a very few mobile station controller. So it is going to check if my current location and my home location is going to match. It means now I'm at the home location, now I'm not in roaming. So what exactly it is going to contain? It is the dynamic, it is not static like the home location register. It is going to contain the temporary information, right? So a home location register, it is going to borrow the information from the home location register whenever it required to control the call. When subscriber enter into the new MSC area, visitor location associated with it, MSC request to the information about the new subscribers from corresponding home location register in its home network. So it is similar whatever I told you. So it will when you are entering into new location, it will ask for the information to the mobile switching center. Mobile switching center will ask to the home location register. Home location register will check and tell that it is not in my area. So whenever you are changing city or state, then you have to consult to the mobile switching center of that particular place. If I am in Ahmedabad, Ahmedabad is in Gujarat, right? Then I am in my home location. But now if I am going to Jaipur, which is in Rajasthan, I'm in roaming. So my Jaipur's mobile switching center will going to connect with the mobile switching center of Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad mobile switching center will concern with that particular BS, particular home location register, whether my information is matching or not. It means my information is not matching. So I am in at new location, I am at visitors location. So my information is going to add into that particular visitors location register. Now, operation support system. It consists of authentication register, OMC, and EIR. Authentication register will store the authentication information of the subscriber. It is used by the home location register to authenticate the user. It stores the authentication keys and cipher keys. It calculates the authentication parameter and forward to the home location register. You have to check whether your mobile is authenticated or not. Whenever you are purchasing any SIM card, they'll ask you that you have to provide your PAN card, you have to provide your license, you have to provide any of your photo identity proof, right? Whether you are authenticated user or not, it is going to check. Second one is OMC, which perform the management related task like it is going to give the report or status of billing. it will going to communicate with the MSc and BSc, right? Because if I'm calling and calling, and if the bill is not going to generate, which is not a good thing, right? So they are going to keep track of all the mobile users, their use, their location, their billing information, their identity information, right? Second one is equipment identity register, which is having three lists. The first one is blacklist, second one is whitelist, and the third one is gray list, right? Blacklist will going to keep the information or of the mobile which are stolen or blocked due to some problem. If I have not paid bill since long time, then my mobile will going to block, right? They'll not allow me to use the services because I have not paid my due bills. Second thing is, if somebody has stolen mobile and somebody has complained that I have my mobile is stolen by somewhere, somebody, and this is the number, this is the equipment identity number, this is the SIM card number. So they'll keep this mobile into the blacklist and they'll not allow them to call anywhere, right? Third thing is whitelist, means the user who are regularly paying bill, they have purchased mobile with the proper bill, so they are allowed to call anywhere. Gray list, they are keeping such mobile which are not functioning properly due to some problems, due to some error. So these are the three list, right? Suppose their version are too old, if they are in repairing, so according to that they can enter into the network or not allowed into the network. Okay, now I'm going to start GSM. Okay. Okay. If hello, Riva.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I have asked because yeah, in previous meeting actually I was continuously speaking and the meeting was disconnected. That's why I asked you. Okay. Okay. No issue. Now I'm going to start GSM. Hello. I'm going to start GSM. Okay. GSM, the full form of GSM is Global System for Mobile Communication. Right? It got started in 1970s and it became standardization in 1982 uh, through the European Mobile Telephone Standard. It got worldwide acceptance. If you have seen the mobile like this CDMA, initially Reliance were using such kind of CDMA phone where there is no facility of changing the SIM card. Now we are using GSM phone where there is the facility of changing the SIM card. So GSM is having 70 percentage of world's digital cellular subscriber. It is using time division multiple access and it is having we can say carrying rate of 64 kbps to 120 mbps. GSM is accepted by 220 countries. It is going to provide the services like voice and data and roaming. Okay, these are the history of GSM. We have already gone through the architecture of GSM. Now I'm going to start mobile TCP/IP. Okay, mobile IP. There is again a question in our mind that how it differ from the mobile IP and simple IP, how they are differing with each other. So I told you in previous lecture, suppose I want to send letter to your home, then what I need your address and I mean source address and destination address. There is my address and your address, right? So whenever you want to transmit any package or communicate with the any device, you need a IP address, Internet Protocol address, through which you can send the mail. World Wide Web is using that. But in mobile, what is the problem? It is not a static device. We are moving here and there, and from here and there, we are sending various, we can say, emails. We are using internet. We are calling each other. So we need a IP which is mobile IP, which is not a static. It allows us to connect we were going anywhere, if we are moving, then also we stay connected. So if I'm traveling through the bus, I need a IP which allows me to connect. Okay. Now for mobile IP, you need a two thing. Again, I told you, if I'm at Ahmedabad, then I'm at my home location, right? But if I'm going Baroda, if I'm going Bangalore, if I'm going Mumbai, then these are the my visitors location. So this is home network for me. This is, we can say, foreign network for me. Okay. So you need an agent. Suppose I want to know someone's detail. I want to inquire about somebody. Then what I have to tell somebody? I have to ask somebody that who is that person, what is his name, where he is staying, what is his address, what is his contact number. Like this I'm doing inquiry. So whenever I'm at my home location, there is one home agent which is responsible for all these things, right? If I am at foreign location, there is foreign agent which is going to keep track of all the details. So there are two type of address. The first one is, we can say, care of address and the home location address. If I'm not at my home location, then I need other kind of address. There are three processes through which mobile IP functions. The first process is agent discovery, second process is registration, and the third process is, we can say, tunneling. Let's see how it is going to work one by one. First, we will see mobile IP architecture. As I told you that this subject is consist of architectures. We have gone through GSM architecture, right? And this is, we can say, a mobile IP architecture. So whenever I'm conducting exam, I'll ask you that you have to draw the architecture of mobile IP or GSM. So you have to remember all the architecture. It is really very simple. And this is my home network where exactly I'm staying, or my mobile I have purchased from this place. And this is my foreign network from where I'm moving, right? This is my home agent. This is my foreign agent. So whenever server want to send a packet, what server will do? Server will first communicate with the home agent, right? Where that person is. I told you, somebody to somebody I will ask कि भाई मारे आनु काम छे. So who is that person? What is the name of that person? What is the address of that person? Right? Like this, server wants to send some packet to that particular mobile network. And server has to first ask to the home agent. Then what home agent will do? From the internet, through the internet, that home agent will send that message in form of data packets, right? And this data packet is received by the foreign agent, and it will reach to the foreign network and reply back to the foreign agent. Foreign agent will send reply back to the server. Simple example yesterday I have given to you. Being a faculty, suppose I want to send one letter to you guys. Suppose I want to send some, there are some exam related form which need to be filled by the Riva on urgent basis, right? But Riva, I will send it to the Riva's home location. Riva's parent will going to read this later, and they'll see that there is a urgent requirement of sign of that Riva's address. But Riva is not at her home. She is at, we can say, Goa resort. She is enjoying at Goa resort. So what is her parent will going to do? They'll send that packet to the resort manager of that particular place, Goa, and that resort manager will send that packet to Riva. Riva will sign and give it back to that particular resource manager, and that resort manager will going to send that packet back to the server or me. So through this tunnel, we can say that everything will going to pass, right? So home agent has to communicate with the foreign agent before sending packet to the foreign network. So there are two agent you have to remember is foreign agent and the home agent, right? Okay. Home address is static address, and this care of address I told you that is dynamic. Whenever I'm moving, wherever I'm moving from one place to another place in foreign network, I'm going to assign the care of address. Server cannot directly reply whenever mobile node will going to request. Server has to send that packet to the home agent, and home agent will send that packet to the foreign agent. Okay. Now there are three-step process. I told you: discovery, registration, and tunneling. Let's see one by one. Agent discovery. How this is going to happen? First, you have to discover who are the agent of your system: home agent and foreign agent. Second thing is registration. The mobile node registers its current location with the foreign agent and the home agent during the registration. Mobile node has to register its location, right? Current location, whenever it is at home location or whenever it is at foreign location. Now, tunneling is, we can say, set up between the home agent to send the particular packets at the care of address, right? When you are roaming. So when you are roaming, it will going to establish one tunnel, and through this tunnel, it is going to send the packets. Okay. Now, how it is going to do the discovery? Mobile node identifies its foreign network and find home agents and foreign agent. So what agent has to do all the time? Agent has to do advertisement. Home agent and foreign agent both will going to do the advertisement, and they are going to broadcast their address. So it is going to check by the mobile. Mobile is having some net address, and that this address is going to consist of two part: network part and host part, right? So it is going to, whenever mobile node receives that ICMP advertisement message and observe the address part of sender's address part that contain the address of agent, it is going to compare the network part of its address with the foreign agent address. And if then it is same, like, then it is going to compare with the network part. Suppose these two network part are same. The agent is going to, my home agent and foreign agent both are broadcasting the message. So it is going to check. If the network ID is same, it means these are at the same location. But here it is differ. So the mobile is not at the home location. Mobile is at the foreign location. So it is going to check first with the home agent, then second it will going to check with the foreign agent whether it is matching or not matching, right? So this kind of advertisement can be done by the home agent and foreign agent. So you can say that network part of the agent address is different from my part. So you are in the another network and you need a care of address, right? Because your home location and your mobile's location are not going to match. They both are in different network. If I'm not in Ahmedabad but my phone is at Ahmedabad, so my home agent will send the message, broadcast the message, and I'm going to check from the Bangalore. But my network part is not matching because I'm at different location. But if foreign agent means the agent of that particular Bangalore city is also going to broadcast the message, and if my network part is going to match, the location of network is going to match with that particular Bangalore's location network ID, it means I'm at Bangalore and I'm at the foreign place. I need to communicate with the foreign agent now, and for that I need a care of address, right? Now I don't require, I'm in need of a care of address because I'm not at home place. So a home address is not required. You need a care of address. Care of address also broadcasts the agent advertisement by ICMP. Broadcast at least one care of address. Foreign agent has to broadcast at least one care of address. If agent advertisement by the home agent, then there is no care of address, but home agent broadcast return to the home network. So your care of address also broadcasts the agent advertisement message. Now you assign one care of address through that particular Bangalore network. So what is the goal of agent discovery? It help you to find out which agent you need, home or foreign. You can find out your location, you can find out your address. So these are the, we can say, home agent and foreign agent discovery. I have written here theory also, which you can read. So at the time of exam, you can write down, right? How agent will going to advertise the message and how you are going to check the network part and everything. Now registration. Mobile node has to register when it is going to move from one network to another network, right? Now how it is going to register? Whenever it will going to get the agent advertisement message, the registration will going to begin. The mobile node registers through the foreign agent, and when the mobile node might be able to acquire its own co-located care of address, there are two processes, two step: registration request and the registration reply. You can see that if I am in foreign network, right? So my mobile node will going to request to the foreign agent, then foreign agent will going to request to the home agent that your mobile is my at my location and it need to register with my location. Then home location will give the reply, yes. Home agent will going to reply, yes, allow him to register in your location, and your mobile node will going to register into that particular foreign network and with care of address assigned. Now, if you are at your home location, then you have to request to your home address to register your mobile, and home agent will going to reply you that yes, you are in my network and you are able to register yourself. So there is two process, request and reply process. If you are at foreign network, you have to first consult to the foreign agent will consult to the home agent, and home agent will reply, and you will going to get registered. If you are in home network, then you have to consult to only home agent. Normal care of address that mobile obtain a new location is the IP address of the foreign agent serving at the new location. Registration and communication has to go through the foreign agent. Co-located care of address, there is no separate foreign agent present at the new location. Mobile returns an IP that new location through some standard mechanism like dynamic host configuration protocol. Registration and communication is done directly between the mobile and the home agent. Okay. Shall I stop here? Tunneling we will see in next lecture. It is nothing but we can say you can insert data from one end, retrieve at the another end, just like a FIFO. First in, first out, first in, first out. It is going to be used to transfer the packets. Shall I stop here, Riva? Riva?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Only 6 minutes are only left.
Okay, fine. Now you please write down your attendance in chat box. All of you are requested to write down your attendance in chat box. Those who are from C can please mention your branch. Otherwise, I'm going to get confused. After writing your enrollment number, you please leave the meeting. You are requested to leave the meeting.